Hello students, how are you? I hope you all are fine at your home, right? I'm Parinda Gadhiya from Shivashish Vidyalaya School teaching you computer subject, and today this video is for 5th standard. And students, today we will learn our next chapter, that is chapter number 8, learning algorithms. Okay, so let's start with the introduction of the algorithms. So, introduction. Program is a set of instructions written to perform a specific task. Okay. In this lesson, we will learn the language to write down the steps to perform any specific task. Okay. So, first of all, if you want to do any task, first you have to write some steps to complete that task. Okay. So, in this chapter, we will learn how to write all these steps one by one. Okay. So first is algorithms. Algorithms can be defined as the process or a set of rules to be followed in the calculations or other problem solving operations, especially by the computer. And the first step in every programming language is to write an algorithm. Okay? An algorithm is a step-by-step process of doing a task. So students, this is a definition of algorithm. Algorithm is a step-by-step process of doing a task. An algorithm is an effective method of solving a problem using the sequence of instructions. Okay, so students, if you are doing any task and if you want to do that task in a good way, so first of all you have to write some steps to complete that task. Okay, so in the computer language it's called an algorithm. Okay. So students, here you can see an example of an algorithm. Okay, for example, let's take an example like your science teacher asks you to collect some dry leaves for the project and take it at the school. So this is the step-by-step process to take dry leaves for the project. So first go to the nearest park or garden, then collect the fallen leaves, take the leaves home, then wrap the leaves in the old newspaper for a few days to dry, and after that you will get a dry leaves. And last step is take the dried leaves to the school. So students, this process one by one which you are written in the steps is called an algorithm. Okay, I hope you are clear with these steps, right? Now students, here some advantages and disadvantages are there of algorithms. Let's see one by one. First advantages are easy to understand. Obviously, algorithm is a step-by-step procedure. So it's easy to understand. Independent to programming language. We are writing an algorithm in a simple English statement. Okay. So it's independent from the language and easy to debug. Debug means easy to execute. Okay. And the disadvantages are time consuming. Obviously, to write a step-by-step procedure of your task, it will take some time, right? Not suitable for all the programs and difficult for the bigger problems. Okay, so for the long task, it's little bit difficult to write all the steps in the sequence in algorithm, right? So these all are the advantages of algorithm. Now next is tools of algorithm. Okay, there are two tools are there of algorithms. First is flowchart and second one is pseudocode. A flowchart is used for simple problems and the pseudocode is used for the complex problem. Okay, so students, you have to learn this sentence. Okay, if your problems are small, then you have to use a flowchart, and if you are doing some big tasks, you have to use a pseudocode of that. Okay. Okay, now let's see the tools of algorithm, that is flowchart and pseudocode one by one. First is flowcharts. Flowcharts are graphical representation of an algorithm. So students, this is a definition of a flowchart. Okay, flowcharts use shaped as a symbol to represent an activity. Okay, while we are using a flowchart, you have to draw some shapes as a symbol to present an activity. The flow lines with arrows are used to depict the flow of data within the program, and the various symbols used in the flowchart. Okay, in the next slide we will learn different types of symbols while we are using in the flowchart. Okay, so let's see. Okay students, here you can see some names, symbols and descriptions are there. Okay, let's discuss one by one. First symbol is oval shape. It's called terminator box. It represents the beginning or the end of the flowchart. Okay, while you are starting the flowchart and while you are ending the flowchart, you have to use this oval shape. Okay. Second is parallelogram, means input output box. It represents the input and output operations in the flow chart. Okay, while we are putting input data and while you will get output data, you have to use a parallelogram. Third one is rectangle box, that means process box. It represents the process or an instruction to be carried out. For example, addition, some calculations, etc. Okay. For example, I want to add two numbers. First one is 5, second one is 3. So input data is 5 and 3 and process, that means 5 plus 3. Okay. And after that you will get a result, that is called a output data. Okay. Now next is diamond shape, means decision box. This symbol is used in branching when a decision is to be made. Okay, in sometimes in a flowchart you have to draw a decision box, means diamond box, means if you want to this or this. Okay, next is connector box. It connects one part of flowchart to another. And last one is flow lines. It depicts the flow of information one point to another point. Okay, in the flowchart, all symbols you have to connect with the flow lines. Okay, flow line shows the flow of the flowchart. Got it? Now students, let's see advantages and disadvantages of a flowchart. In the previous slides, we learned advantages and disadvantages of the algorithm. Now we will learn about flowchart. So advantages are the symbols are self-explanatory. Self-explanatory means symbols will give you some instruction about when we are using that shapes. Their graphical nature makes the process of explaining an algorithm quite straightforward, obviously. And last is problems can be analyzed in a one effective way, right? Okay, so using the flowchart, you can analyze the problems step by step very easily. And the disadvantages are diagrammatic representation takes a lots of time. Obviously, when you are writing an algorithm, it will easy to write the steps in a simple English statement, right? But when you are using a flowchart, you have to draw particular shapes and then write instruction in the steps. Next, difficult to handle complex problem, right? If your task is complex, then it's very difficult to draw a long flowchart. Okay, standard rules needs to be followed for the flowchart. Obviously, some standard rules are there to draw a flowchart. You have to compulsory follow them, right? If change is required, the flowchart may require redrawing completely. Yes, if one mistake is occurred in the flowchart in between, you have to erase the whole flowchart and you have to redrawing it. Okay, so this is the advantages of flowchart. Now here you can see an example of flowchart. Okay, this is a flowchart of adding two numbers. Here you can see first and last step, that is start and ending of the flowchart with the oval shape, input and output process, okay, with the parallel shape, and process box means sum is equal to a plus b. We are using a process box means rectangle box. Okay, so this is the simple flowchart of any algorithm. Okay, now next is pseudocode. This is the second tool of an algorithm, right? Pseudocode means false code. This is the definition of pseudocode. It is an informal language that helps programmers to develop an algorithm, and there is no uniform pseudocode language. Okay, in previous topic flowchart, we learned some guidelines of the flowchart that you have to follow compulsory. And In the pseudocode, there is no guidelines, no restrictions are there. Okay, so you can write your own pseudocode. Clear? Now again, advantages and disadvantages are there. So advantages are closer to programming code, so easier to understand, right? So we have to write a pseudocode in the programming language, so obviously it is easier to understand. And second, it can be constructed quickly as compared to flowchart. Okay, it will made quickly compared to flowchart, because in the flowchart you have to draw all the shapes and then you can write the instruction in it. But in the pseudocode you can write same as algorithm but in the programming language easily. Okay, and disadvantages are no standards are used. It is difficult to maintain consistency, right? In the flowchart we learn some rules are there, means some shapes you have to follow strictly, but in the pseudocode there is no rules you have to follow, so obviously it's difficult to maintain consistency. And next is difficult to understand and manipulate, right? Person by person pseudocodes are different, so it is difficult to understand, right? Now next is types of programming statement. Three types of programming statements are there: sequential, conditional and loop. Okay, sequential programming statements means like simple flowchart or simple pseudocode, like input two numbers, right? Second is conditional flowchart or pseudocode, means in that flowchart or pseudocode you have to write some condition, yes or no type, right? And loop statement means in the loop statement your condition will continuously follow till some ending other. Okay, so this is the basic example of pseudocode, and the example is order some food in the restaurant, right? So first begin means start, order sandwich means you want to eat the sandwich, it's confirmed that, so you can order sandwich. Now in the condition you are asking in the desk, is juice available? If yes, then order juice, else order cold coffee, and if condition will be ended. And after that at the last you have to pay the bill and the pseudocode is complete, right? Simple. And the last is to display the sum of two numbers, right? In the previous topic flowchart we learned the flowchart of adding two numbers, and this is the pseudocode of the adding two numbers. First one is begin means start, input two numbers, here we can take a and b numbers, then calculate sum, you have to add two numbers, so formula of is sum is equal to a plus b. After the process you will get a result that you have to display, so display sum, and last step is end, means your pseudocode is finished, right? I hope you all are clear with the algorithm, flowchart and pseudocode. Okay, so students, what we learned today, we learned the algorithms, how to write the algorithms, what are the advantages and disadvantages of algorithms. The next is tools of algorithm. Two types of tools are there, flowchart and pseudocode, right? In the flowchart we learn different shapes of the flowcharts, right? And in the pseudocode we learn how to write a pseudocode with the computer language, means programming language, right? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.